Have you ever read a newspaper article? A newspaper article is a type of source. Meet Ashanti. She is an archivist. An archivist is a person who learns about important sources. Sources are things like documents, photographs, and diaries that can help people understand the past. Archivists also preserve sources. To preserve something means to keep it safe and in good condition. This is an original photo of Abraham Lincoln from the 1800s. It is an archivist's job to make sure that the photo does not rip or get damaged. Right now, Ashanti is making a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel will be called Jumping into History. The goal of the YouTube channel is to teach people about how sources can be used to learn about events in history. Today, Ashanti is recording her first episode. In the first part of the episode, Ashanti is going to talk about two different types of sources. The first type is called a primary source. A primary source is a first-hand account. This means that the source is from someone who was living during a certain point in history. Examples of primary sources are journals, letters, and speeches. The second type of source is called a secondary source. A secondary source is a source that is written by someone who is talking about an event in history. For example, secondary sources are newspaper articles, books, radio, or TV documentaries. In the next part of the YouTube episode, Ashanti is going to talk about how primary and secondary sources can be used to learn about events in history. Ashanti is going to talk about when women got the right to vote in 1920 with the Amendment 19. In the photograph, there are 5 men who are looking into the window of a building. They are standing under a sign that says Headquarters, opposed to women's suffrage. The next source is a secondary source. It's a news article that follows how women eventually gained suffrage. Suffrage means that they have the right to cast a vote in elections. The newspaper article was written many years later. The primary source shows us that there were people who were opposed to women's suffrage. The secondary source shows us how women fought for their rights. The secondary source explains more about women's suffrage than the primary source, but they both tell us a lot about that major historical event. Primary sources are used to help us understand the past from the perspectives of people who actually lived it, while secondary sources help us understand events in the past from the perspective of people living today. Now it's your turn to go on an adventure and learn more about different types of sources.